Hi, I'm Sam Schmidt, founder of Above Par Tech. I'm standing in front of our HP 300 skid, which is a high precision 300-gallon skid that's made for John Deere Pro Gators. We also offer a 200-gallon skid that's made for Toro Workmans. I'm going to talk through some of the features that are available on this skid, and nearly all of these technologies are available for any color sprayer that's on the market today. So the vast majority of these components can be fit as an aftermarket solution on any existing sprayer on your course. To give you a little bit of an overview of how this actually works, we have a PWM controlled pump, so our rate controller is actually controlling the speed and the flow of the pump. The flow from the pump comes up through this valve, which is our agitation valve, which can be manually turned on and shut off by the operator. Flow goes through the strainer, our flow meter, and then these are our master valves, and then the flow then moves through the boom. Also on this boom we have recirculation. So the flow goes to the middle of the boom all the way to the end and then circulates back up to this valve. And then when this valve opens, the flow goes back to the tank through this point here. The idea of this is that the flow throughout the entire boom is being circulated at all times whenever the sprayer is not actively spraying a fairway or tee or green or any of your designated spray area. The recirculation valve immediately automatically opens and closes without any interaction from the operator. So whenever you're actively spraying, the valve closes so our flow meter readings are still accurate, and it automatically opens whenever you're not spraying. So, and the system constantly keeps the whole system at 40 psi. So there's no charging and purging the air out of your boom as you move to your first spray area. The whole system is already at 40 psi, the boom is already charged, and all the air is purged from the system. This boom is also equipped with Capstan Evo. The theory of Capstan Evo, it's a PWM spray system equipped with 2 nozzles and 2 solenoids that are constantly pulsing opposite of each other. So the 2 nozzles at this location are pulsing opposite of each other, and then these 2 systems are pulsing opposite of each other. So no matter the flow rate, we won't have skips and gaps in our actual spray. The benefit of this is that it provides an infinite spray window for us as far as speed ranges go. So whether you're spraying at 10 miles per hour, if you're spraying at 2 or 3 miles per hour, we'll constantly have a 40 psi system, so you're always at the same pressure. This will decrease spray drift because even in your high speed situations, the pressure in the boom will not increase. Just the pulse rate and the duty cycle of the solenoids will increase. We also have boom height control equipped on this boom, which works automatically in the background as well without any interaction from the operator. Now we'll move up to this display and show you what the operator sees. This is the Capstan Evo display. It almost requires no interaction from the operator other than turning it on. The Evo system, we set our target PSI, so we want to keep the boom at 40 PSI at the moment. We can increment that up or down if we wanted to. Normally you would just leave it at 40 PSI. The vast majority of times this requires no interaction from the operator other than just simply turning it on. And here is the Ag Leader in command display, and we'll walk through the button presses that an operator would need to start spraying. A little bit of an overview. We use RTK correction, so we'll have sub-inch accuracy. We do have our GPS information here, and as you can see, we have a estimated error. Even in a not optimal location, we have 0.4 inches of estimated error, meaning that we know within a half an inch exactly where the sprayer is. So how the operator would get to the run screen and actually spray would be they would simply just hit the application button here, and then the Ag Leader system leads you through a wizard, a step-by-step wizard. So you're not allowed to spray until you put in all of this information. So the first step of the wizard, it's just making sure the controllers on the back of the sprayer are actually working properly. So we move on to the next step. And now we are telling the system what we're actually going to spray. So as you can see here, we have different fields. We have greens, and it'll tell you the acreage of the greens down here. Fairways, long rough. We have some fescue that we spray a little bit differently, so we have that delineated out. Tee boxes, And then also we have roughs, which is basically the fairways inverted. So it will only spray in the rough and then turn off whenever it's in the tees or greens or in the fairways. So I am actually going to create a new field. So we don't have a boundary loaded just yet. So I'll move on to the next step. Now we tell the system what we're putting in the tank, which is optional. We can always tell it we're just spraying water. It will still work the same, but this is for data and record keeping purposes. So we have our individual products are just the blue icon, and then our tank mixes. At any point you can just add a new tank mix or a new product even from this screen, but this is a pre-made tank mix that we already have, so I'll move on to the next step. And now we're telling the system how much of that each individual product is in the tank, all for data integrity. You can also eliminate these products if on specific tanks you didn't have any of these individual products. You can deselect those as well. So now we'll move on to the next screen, and then this we can set our controlling product to water or any individual product, but the vast majority of time you're always leaving this product at its default, which is the tank mix. So that's the last step of our wizard. So now we're actually on the run screen and we can begin to start spraying. A little bit of a run screen overview. This is our rate tab. So our target rate is specified up here in gallons per acre, 45 gallons per acre. This will be our actual rate as we start moving. We can change our preset rates by hitting that wrench there and then changing these numbers. Our container, this is a virtual tank volume, so we can fill up our tank. It says we have 300 gallons in, and that will obviously decrease as we go. We can always tell it that we have a half a tank as well by simply just telling it that we have half a tank. It will also alarm us when it thinks that there's 30 gallons left in the tank, which a lot of operators use. When that alarm pops up, I can turn off my agitation valve. So the switch box down here, this is our master switch, and this is our rate switch. So we have rate 1, we can switch it to rate 2, which is 90 gallons per minute, or manual if we're doing any clean out, or if the GPS receiver falls off or breaks or something, you can always spray manually. So we'll have that set to rate 1. This is our increment and decrement, so we can increase and decrease our rate by that if we wanted to bump it up, bump it down. Vast majority of people don't use that, but it is available for you. And then over here we have all sorts of different options. So this is actually our guidance tab. So this is where we can create new guidance lines for auto steer. This is where we would create a new boundary, which we're about to do. We can drop markers for irrigation pivots or drainage tiles or anything. And then also we can change the legend and how we actually see the map when we actually start spraying. We have a digital pressure gauge as well, split screen functionality. The UT button is really our back end of our controllers, and then we also have access to a couple cameras that we have on the back, which you'll see operating in real time when we start spraying. So that is an overview of the run screen. Now we're going to make a boundary. Normally our boundaries would already be preloaded, like you showed in the wizard. We would already have our fairways, for instance, already mapped, and we're selecting it. But if we wanted to create a new boundary, it's really simple. We just select this tab over here and then hit boundary, and then we add a new boundary. And then here we can select an offset distance. So everything's based off the center of our machine. So I actually want to offset my boundary mapping point to 2 foot to the left, meaning it's the outer edge of my left tire. And then I just run my tire along the edge of the fairway and then create the boundary. So we'll select that, and then now we'll begin mapping our boundary. Now when we get back to our original location, we simply hit stop. That boundary is saved, and it'll give us the size of that boundary, 1.33 acres. All right, so now we're ready to spray. We have our target rate set. So now on the gator, I'll turn on my pump. once I hit this prime button, the system knows to try to keep the system, the spray pressure at 40 psi. So even though we're not spraying anything yet, it's just going to constantly keep the system, even in agitation, at 40 psi. This auxiliary pressure sensor is actually our recirculation valve, so we know it's recirculating through the boom. When I spray, you'll see that drop to 0. Our agitation pressure and our boom pressure are essentially the same at the moment because our agitation valve is open, but this is our main boom pressure. So this is our section control, meaning when that's green, it's only going to allow us to spray in our fairways or in our target spray areas, and it's not going to allow us to overlap. If we set it to gray, that'll be manual mode. It'll just let you spray wherever. So obviously I want that to be green. Once I flip this switch, the master switch, everything's on, and now the system is only going to spray when we get into the fairway. So now the whole boom is charged. We don't need to worry about purging it of air. I basically just need to drive into the fairway and start spraying now. So we can see my target rate is 45 and my actual rate is 45. As a section turns off or two, sometimes you'll see that fluctuate, but it's always going to try to keep the system at 40 psi. You can see that sections are turning off as those nozzles are exiting the fairway. Now we're coming into a tight turn here, so we'll see a couple turn off. Now I'm only going 4.5 miles per hour at the moment. So the beauty of Capstan is that it enables us larger spray windows. So once I come out of this turn here, I'll go ahead and shift into third gear. So now even though I'm going 7.5 miles per hour, I'm still on target rate. My pressure's still right at 40 psi. Now we're coming to the end of our pass, and my sections are going to turn off. So I'll go ahead and make my turn. Now it's not allowing us to overlap, right? It's turning off our, that last nozzle is overlapping, so it won't allow me to spray there. On this next pass, I'll make an auto steer line, and we can show you the full potential of the system here. Obviously I missed that little corner there, but we can come back in and fill it in later. So in order for auto steer to work, I need to first make a guidance line, right? So here in new pattern, I'll just select new pattern. We can choose from a variety of patterns, including straight lines, adaptive curves, identical curves, but typically you'll be using identical curve. And now we need to set our A and our B line. Normally, these are all saved automatically, so normally you just have one line already saved for each hole, but I'll show you how to make an A-B line. So we'll need to drop an A point and then drive our pass all the way to the end and then set our B point. I'll set my B point, and it has our pass that we drove recorded. So now it's going to move me over the width of my boom, 30 foot, and then it's going to, we can drive on either pass. So as I turn and move into the next pass will turn red, and that's what we'll steer to when I hit the auto steer button. So now I'm not touching the steering wheel. Automatically moving me onto that path. This is the distance that we're off our guidance line, so it's always going to try to keep that as close to zero as possible. The benefits of auto steer are that we can run a theoretically perfect next pass, right? So when I was manually steering, I could still, obviously I can overlap potentially 20 inches before it turns off that nozzle. Now with auto steer, you can keep that overlap to zero and have as efficient a passes as possible. Now we can even zoom in and we can see that we're running just perfectly next to our previous pass, whereas before, obviously I wasn't doing the best job in the world. Disengage auto steer just by turning the wheel. I turn around 180 degrees. Enable auto steer. I was late on that one. But it corrects for my mistake and then gets us back on the line. At any point in time, we can come back and look at our nozzles and make sure that nothing's clogged. Everything seems to be working just fine. We also have boom height control that I can enable, and it'll automatically raise and lower the booms as needed. Ag Leader also has a free app, the Agfinity app, that allows us to get the most out of the system as well. So I can remote into the display at any time. So as a dealer, I can support it more effectively. As a superintendent, you can keep an eye on the spray tech and make sure that he's spraying the right rates, the right speed, whatever it may be. I use this all the time as a dealer to remote in and answer any questions. I can simply select the display that I would like to view, and then on my phone or iPad or desktop, I can see exactly what you're seeing and walk you through any button presses if you have any questions and support it more effectively. Also, if I cancel the viewing session, also this automatically generates reports and data. So we can see here in my file transfer, this is what we just sprayed during this demo. I can download this file, and then there is a pre-made application report that'll tell you that it'll be time-stamped, show you exactly what was sprayed, what rate it was sprayed at, how much area was sprayed, and then what was in the tank, as we specified in the setup wizard on the way to the run screen. We also have the ability to add in any notes if we need to. So these are automated reports that you can keep on file on your computer, PDF, whatever it may be. Thanks for watching the virtual demo of the HP 300. Again, all of this technology will fit any brand of sprayer, any color of sprayer. So give us a call, send us an email if you'd like more information or if you'd like a demo in person. Thanks.